Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Key Source. We are really excited to be able to unpack some important topics and concepts in the real estate process. Our goal is to help equip and empower you to take the next step in your real estate goals. And today's content is for anyone who is wanting to buy a home in 2021. Stay with us as I talk with Cassie about what to keep in mind as you prepare. Hi, Cassie. How are you today?
I'm great, John. How are you?
Great, thank you. Well, I'm really excited for this video because I know we're going to be unpacking some crucial things for people to consider who want to buy a home in this ultra competitive market. So what has your experience been serving buyers this year? Where does the conversation usually start?
Yeah, so I would say the conversation starts pretty much the same this year as it has in years past. So the way it usually goes is a prospective buyer or client will reach out to me and say something like, "Hey, Cassie, I've found this home online. I'm really interested in seeing it. Do you think you can show it to us?" And there isn't necessarily anything wrong with that. I think it's really common and natural for an exciting home to prompt the home buying process. But what I would say is this year, I don't think that process is going to cut it for anyone with the goal to actually buy a home. So, what I've been telling everyone and anyone who will listen to me is that we really need to shift that pattern from I'm looking at homes online and I'll handle the conversation and the paperwork that needs to be done later to I'm going to handle the conversation and the paperwork now and then look at homes. So that's kind of the fundamental shift that I think needs to happen in that initial conversation. So yeah, that's what I would say about that.
That makes a lot of sense, Cassie. There are many conversations that need to happen at the outset. I think that getting a jump start on that can be really powerful and help people be more competitive and more effective in this whole process. Which conversations would you say are the most important?
Yeah, so there are three conversations that you should start with. And the first one is going to be with any key decision maker on the purchase. So you hear my dog in the back. Yeah, so you want to have a conversation, whether that's with yourself or a spouse, or maybe there's someone else that's helping fund your purchase that wants to have input.
Sure.
And you want to kind of establish very clear expectations and goals, not only in the house you want to purchase, like size, number of bedrooms and baths, stuff like that, but also in the community that you want to live in. So
Sure.
you want to establish those clearly. And I always tell people to prioritize things too. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what are the things that you really need in
Right.
your next property, and what are things that you're willing to compromise on, because it's
Mm.
very likely that you're going to have to compromise.
Right.
So yeah, that's the first conversation that needs to take place. The second is going to be the buyer consultation. And that's going to be with an agent that you would like to represent you on your purchase. So now just a quick plug to other video content we've created. I really unpack this conversation in our buyer education series. So I'll briefly touch on this, but if you want a more in-depth discussion on the benefits of the buyer consultation, definitely go there. But yeah, so you want to do the buyer consultation because it's going to be a great opportunity for you to express any expectations and goals that you have in your next property, but also in the agent that's going to be representing you. So that's going to be really key down the road when you're looking at homes and thinking about making an offer. So The third conversation that's going to need to happen is with a lender. And that's really to just figure out what type of loan is going to meet your needs and be the best
Mhm.
fit for you, as well as establishing your budget that you can work
Right.
within. So that's going
Mhm.
to save you a ton of time. If you can establish
Right.
that up front, you won't waste any time looking at homes that you can't afford, or you might be able to even like qualify for more than you thought and more options open up to you.
Totally.
So
For
yeah,
sure.
those are the beginning conversations that any buyer should be having.
Yes, that makes a lot of sense. Setting expectations up front is definitely going to prepare you when it's time to start looking at homes. What other expectations do buyers need to establish from the beginning?
Yeah, so I would say it's going to be really important for buyers to develop an understanding of market value of homes that they're going to be looking at. Because you really want to have reasonable expectations of what you're going to
Right.
pay for the type of property you want.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the easiest way to do that is going to be to ask your agent to do like sales comps analysis
Mm-hmm.
on homes that are in the communities where you want to live.
Mm-hmm.
And you can get super specific with that. Like you could just go generally, what's the average price per square foot in the neighborhood? That'll give you a good idea of home values in
Sure.
that area. But you can narrow it down based on the criteria of the specific
Mm-hmm.
home you're looking for. So,
Sure.
yeah, that is really going to establish like an intuitive sense of market value.
Right.
That's going to be helpful for you down the road.
That is definitely true, Cassie. The sooner a buyer can start developing an understanding of the market prices in their target communities, as well as how quickly things are moving, the better.
Yeah.
So I know you just bought a new home in 2020. What did you learn in that experience that might be helpful to buyers this year?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Yeah, we did. My husband and I did buy a home last summer. We bought a home in kind of like the beginning of that seller's market transition, also in the middle of a pandemic, too. So
Right.
there are kind of two situations that were informing our decisions in that process. So I would say the main thing that's different for us was in previous years, which we've bought 3 houses and sold 2. So in
Right.
previous years, we were able to ask for a lot of things. Like we were able to ask for our closing costs. We didn't need
Mm-hmm.
to budget that and saving up. We
Sure.
also were able to purchase with USDA loans,
Mm-hmm.
still be competitive in the market with that. So we didn't have to save up for a down payment either.
Right.
And we weren't able to do that this time around. We had to account for all of our own closing costs. We had to account for our down payment. And we were fortunate. We had equity in our home that we owned at the time that went towards covering some of those
Sure.
costs. But
Mm-hmm.
there was a major shift in we had to budget. We had
Right.
to save up money.
Right.
And so yeah, that is something that buyers are definitely going to want to be mindful of.
Sure.
What it's going to take for me to save 3, 5, 10, 20% down
Right.
for a payment, including the cost of closing.
Right.
So you'll want to ask your lender if they can estimate closing costs for you up front. That'll give
Sure.
you a good idea. And once you establish your budget for a home, you'll be able to calculate your down payment.
Right.
And something that was specific to buying in a pandemic, and especially if you have student loans, you want to be mindful of this. We had our government student loans in deferment. Everyone's
Mhm.
student loans, as of right now, are in deferment, and there's
Right.
really no reason to waive that.
Sure.
Except for us, it created a roadblock in
Mm.
our loan underwriting process because it's hard for a lender to get an accurate idea of your monthly expenses when your student loan payments are in deferment. And
Sure.
so the only way really for them to get an idea is to use your maximum payment amount, which
Oh,
a lot of people are on income-based repayment
sure.
plans. So that can really throw some things out of whack. So
Right.
Nate and I had to actually contact our student loan repayment providers
Hmm.
to waive that. And
Right.
that kind of held up the deal for about a week, and it made an already stressful, overwhelming situation even more stressful. So
Right.
I would really recommend, if you have government student debt, student
Hmm.
loans, asking your lender at the outset if you should go ahead and get those waived, because that might be super helpful for you to do from the
Sure.
beginning. So, yeah, we did. We learned a lot in the process. And it was difficult, but we were able to get it done. And I really
Absolutely.
believe that anyone, it is possible to
Hmm.
buy in this market. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah,
Right. Right. That's fantastic. Thanks for walking us through that, Cassie. So what I hear you saying is you were really thankful for the savings and budgeting that you did prior to getting into the market and
mhm,
looking at homes. And in hindsight, you would have explored the whole idea of possibly waiving the student loan deferment a little earlier, so that the process would have gone a little smoother.
absolutely. And I also want to mention too, we used a lot of really competitive strategies in structuring our offer. Now, we
Mhm.
are doing an entire video on some of those competitive clauses that you can use to structure a winning offer in a competitive situation. We don't need to go over those today, but that is coming. So that was also a major piece in getting us in a home last year, and that'll be a major piece for buyers this year as well. So
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Cassie, for all of that great information. Like Cassie mentioned, this is part one of a two-part series, and we believe this series will position you to buy a home in this ultra-competitive market. Our next episode is all about winning in multiple offer situations. Like Cassie said, that those tools were critical for her and her husband when they purchased their home in 2020. So you won't want to miss out on that content. Please subscribe to our channel and join us then. See you next time.